Hello, lovelies. All right, we're going to talk through carbohydrates. Bear with me as I pin this video to the top of our Facebook group, Macro Tracking and Weightlifting for Women. Make sure you're in there if you're not. Man, in the industry today, and I should say more so on your guys' side, there is still fear around carbohydrates, right? And so we definitely do our best to educate around this area. And so I want to continue to educate right now and just share with you how vital carbohydrates are to recovery, to performance, and to muscle building, and also for energy, just natural energy throughout the day. Okay, so I'm going to share a few facts for women, right, about our bodies. And then I'll go into a research study done specifically testing different levels of carbohydrate. And then I also want to share with you the recommended levels of carbohydrate, right? We've talked about protein levels. And now I'm really excited to share with you carbohydrate levels. And I hope that for those of you who are afraid of carbohydrates, having more education around it will help you release the fear and make sure that you're fueling your body well to meet the demands of your lifestyle and your training, right? Your weightlifting. Okay. As a reminder, this is for weightlifting women. So during the luteal phase of our menstrual cycle, so after bleeding, the second half of our menstrual cycle, estrogen is typically high, which can cause muscle glycogen turnover to be low. So muscle glycogen turnover is essentially, and I'm like referencing my notes, that's why I keep looking down, but it's our body sending a signal that it's okay to uncouple the production of ATP, which is vital for energy, right? We need to be able to access stored carbohydrates or stored glycogen essentially to have the energy to perform in our lifts and to recover. So okay, before I tangent. So this can slow our recovery time, right? Because we need enough carbohydrates and our bodies need to access enough carbohydrates. So first key takeaway is make sure that you're eating enough carbohydrates so you have enough stored carbohydrate for your body to tap into to aid in that recovery. If you're not eating enough carbohydrate, your body will actually pull from the amino acids in your muscle mass to convert it to glucose. Meaning, if you're not eating enough carbohydrate, but you're weightlifting in the gym trying to grow your muscle mass, you might actually be ripping apart your muscle mass, right? Not growing it, doing the opposite of what you want to do. So it's breaking down your muscle and you're not able to recover it faster. So really bad, right? Really not what we want to do. That's called glycogenolysis, is basically, your body takes your muscle mass and converts it to glucose. Okay, so let's see. So Dr. Stacy Sims, I follow her a bit, and she showed that during recovery, women tend to burn more carbohydrates. I've heard a few of you ladies say, I'm so starving on my rest days. Why am I so hungry on my rest days, but not as much on my lift days? One, exercise can be an appetite suppressant, right? So that may be part of it, especially if you're doing cardio that day as well. But it also might mean that you're not eating enough throughout your week and definitely not enough carbohydrate. It's vital to have enough carbohydrate, okay? I think for a lot of you, when I share with you the actual recommended range, your mind is going to be blown. And I'll share that in just a minute. So to help this, right, whether we're on our menstrual cycle or not, to really help our bodies have enough access to the carbohydrate so you can build the muscle that you're working so hard to build, eat protein and carb before and after your training session. Make sure you're getting in those macronutrients to, again, fuel your lifestyle, fuel your training demands, and support your recovery. Okay. Now I want to go into a study. The title is called The Effect of Carbohydrate Intake on Strength and Resistance Training Performance. And this is a peer-reviewed article, which means it's gone through a way more extensive process and has been proven accurate and like trustworthy versus just like a random Google article. Like we always want to look at peer-reviewed research. Okay, so this is from February 2022. We definitely want to look in the last 3 to 5 years of research because this industry, fitness and nutrition, it's advancing so rapidly. We need to stay up with the research. And so peer-reviewed in the last 3 to 5 years is always a good place to start. Okay, so here are some key takeaways from that article. So high carb intakes are recommended for weightlifters. What? Duh, right? Why? Because for moderate to high intensity, meaning not like long endurance like a marathon, but moderate to high intensity, so CrossFit, weightlifting, sprinting, anything that's not like super long-term sustained, the primary energy source that your body needs and uses is carbohydrate, right? So we need to eat enough carbohydrate, I say again, to support our training and our lifestyle demands. So the research study also showed that carbs can enhance performance because it's the preferred energy source naturally. Now, glycogen depletion. Okay. Again, this is what happens when you're not eating enough carbohydrate. Okay. So your strength is going to be limited. You're not going to be able to lift as much in the gym, weight wise and rep wise and set wise, which means your results are going to suffer, right? Because you're not doing as much volume throughout the week. 99% of us ladies, we're volume responders. 1% is a variety responder, but most of us, our bodies respond very well to volume. So if you're not eating enough carbohydrate, you can't do as much volume, which means you're not able to grow as much muscle mass. And it's such a simple correction, right? Just change your diet. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. Okay, cool. So I touched on this in the beginning, but glycogen depletion can reduce muscle protein synthesis. What's muscle protein synthesis again? It's essentially growing your muscle mass. So if your glycogen is depleted, i.e. not eating enough carbohydrates, your muscles aren't able to grow like they could if you were eating more carb, right? Protein repairs muscle tissue. Protein is vital to grow your muscle tissue for sure. Carbohydrates are also vital to grow your muscle tissue and vital to have enough energy in the gym to break down your muscles again so they can grow. So, oh my gosh, carbs are so important. All three of the macros, ladies, are so important. If a diet eliminates a macro, run away as fast as you can. Unless you have a medical condition, extremely rare, don't cut out a macronutrient. We need them, the vitamins and the minerals, and they all play different roles in our body: protein, carb, and fat, not alcohol. It is the fourth macro. There's no biological need for it. Okay. Now, the common carbohydrate levels for weightlifters of what's recommended for bodybuilding athletes. So at Queens of Iron, that's the style of training that we do as bodybuilding, right? But we sandwich it with like really healthy, sustainable nutrition. And so it's like healthy body fat percentage, but you still get that like beautiful shape and strength. So for bodybuilding athletes, it's 2.8 to 7.5 grams per kilo per day. We've always gone off of 2 to 8 grams, but new research is showing for bodybuilding athletes, it's 2.8. Okay, ladies, let me do some math for you really quick. So I'm 5'8", I weigh about 145, divided by 2.2, because I want to get the kilograms, right? So I'm 65.9 kilograms. So the lowest end of the scale is 2.8. So I'm going to go times 2.8. That means I should be getting a minimum of 185 grams of carbohydrate per day. I eat almost 300, so that's good. But for some of you, it's like you're eating 100. Now, and one more thing, let me add, for strength athletes, if you're doing powerlifting or anything that requires a ton of strength, the low end of the recommended carbohydrate is 4.2 grams per kilo of body mass per day. So let me do that math. So 145 divided by 2.2 times 4.2. Yeah, that's 277 grams of carb per day minimum for strength athletes, and then a little bit less for bodybuilding athletes. Why? I think it seems obvious, but maybe it's not, but it's your training demands. Strength athletes usually have a higher training demand because they need to lift as heavy as humanly possible and typically for lower reps. Whereas like bodybuilding athletes, we do lift heavy. We definitely do lower reps, but we also do higher reps. We also do kickbacks, and leg extensions and things like that. Whereas strength athletes, the programming is just really different. It's way more compound moves and it's just a different style. Your body needs more carbohydrates. Now, ladies who are on low calories, who you're like, how could I ever get to that high of carb? Give it time. You must give it time, right? How do you bring more health to your metabolism to be able to handle more calories and more carbs? It's the reverse diet process. Really slow and really steady. The same thing needs to take place with carbohydrates. It's not just calories. It's like you have to slowly increase carb to teach your body how to metabolize them really efficiently, which is why keto is awful for women, because it teaches you really how to no longer know how to process carb. So when you bring them back in, you have to start from the very bottom, and it takes forever to teach your body how to efficiently metabolize them again. Not impossible. We've had tons of women come to our program who were on keto. We had to do the whole reverse. It works really well. It takes a lot of time. So don't worry if you're not at this carb level yet, but just have in your mind, oh my gosh, I should actually be there. Let me keep training. Let me keep getting consistent in my macros. And then slowly but surely, you can start to teach your body how to eat more and still shed fat. What's another way to say that? A super efficient metabolism, right? A resilient body. Okay. Now, this study also showed that higher carb diets contributed to more reps to failure and higher training volume. I talked about that a little bit. For 99% of us, the more volume, to an extent, there is the law of diminishing returns, but the more volume to an extent means more muscle growth, better results, faster results, right? Now, I want to touch on what does go to failure mean, because there's a lot of noise in the industry and different trainers are saying different things. Queens of Iron, going to failure is form failure. Form failure, okay? If you're not operating with proper form, put the weight down and lower your weight, because we don't want to be hurt. There's no reason to lift with ego. We want to lift with intention. We want to lift with strong abs, strong bodies, and just lift the weight that you can with perfect form. If you're proper form for you, it's going to look a little different for every woman, right? Our bones, like everything is shaped so different. Your squat pattern is going to look different from the woman's next to you, which is why we never want to compare in nutrition or in lifting, because your mechanics are just going to be different, and that's okay. I think I was telling you guys, what year was it? I think it was like 2013, maybe 2012. And one of my clients, I trained in person, and one of my clients was a Colombian woman. Well, their hips are totally different. And so her standard squat would have been a sumo squat, maybe for a, 5-foot American woman, right? Both are right. Their anatomy is just a little bit different. So we always want to say, how does your body feel when you do things? And even for clients, when they send videos, they're like, oh, am I supposed to, actually on our coaching call, one of our gals said on a 45-degree back extension, she's like, well, do I put the weight on my back or do I put the weight here? And I'm like, you do what feels best on your body, right? As long as you're in proper form, your abs are tight, stretching the hamstrings and glutes, contracting them to stand, you do what feels best, because there's no one size fits all, right? We want to make sure that your lifts are supporting your body, right? Not the body next to you, okay? All right. Another thing, a couple more things the research article showed was supplementing with carbs significantly improved performance, naturally, more energy, right? Now, here's what I found was interesting. There definitely needs to be more research. So what I'm about to say, do not take it as a hard and fast rule. It was just interesting. I want to share it, but definitely more research needs to be done in this area. It showed that 60 grams of carb per hour, which is a lot, did not show great benefit, but a 15 gram of carb per hour and a 30 gram of carb per hour did show performance benefit in the squat and the bench press and a few other lifts. And so what I was thinking was, okay, well, the subjects of that study, that's just way too much carb for that person. It doesn't necessarily mean that's a rule of thumb for everybody, but I thought it was interesting enough to note we don't just want to eat like massive meals at one time. It is better to just space out your food so you're getting consistent energy throughout the day. Okay, 2 more I want to share. So significant positive effects of high carb intake for weightlifters training, around 10 sets per muscle group. So let me say that with the right inflection. So there was significant positive effects for weightlifters who were eating high carb, around 10 sets, right? So we're not thinking 18, we're not thinking whatever. It's just saying, okay, when weightlifters were doing around 10 sets, high carb showed a drastic improvements in performance. No effective of short-term high carb intake on strength performance. This was interesting too. Again, more research needs to be done for us to fully understand that. But what I took that as, we need to have enough carbohydrate over time, not just carb cycling, not just carb cycling. We need to have the storage that we can readily access, right? Because again, ladies, like I said in the beginning, if you're not eating enough carbohydrate, your body's going to break down your beautiful muscle mass, your muscle tissue, to convert it to glucose, to give your body the energy that it needs. So it's so much wiser to make sure you're eating enough carbohydrate to support your lifestyle and your training demands. I can't hone that in enough, okay? So key takeaway, I'm going to say it one last time. Be sure you're eating enough carbohydrates, quality carbohydrates like sweet potato, produce, fruits and vegetables, right? Lentils, barley, farro, quinoa, couscous, all kinds of things. Sure, you can still have pasta and bread and things like that, but I would say limit them. Have more nutrient-dense carbohydrates, carbohydrates with more fiber, loads of produce. And so you're also helping your gut health, because our gut health needs fiber to be able to digest and really function in how it's supposed to be functioning. So make sure it's not just getting in carbohydrates, it's getting in high quality of food. High quality of carbohydrates. And the same goes for protein and fat. We need to have high quality protein, high quality fat, not just trash options, because then we won't feel good. And that's probably not going to really improve performance. Great. Well, that's all I have, ladies. I hope you found that so interesting. Let me know any thoughts, any takeaways. If you're confused on any part of it, let me know. And this is a topic we'll definitely keep researching into, because it's so interesting. And with our macro calculator, depending on where you at calorie wise, we do try to get your carbs as high as possible, but we also want to make sure you have a healthy protein level. Why? To preserve your beautiful muscle mass, right? We want to preserve your beautiful muscle mass by having enough protein. Now, I guess I'm going on a few tangents. One other thing I want to share, leucine, right? The amino acid in protein found in meat is leucine, that helps with muscle protein synthesis, which is growing your muscle mass, which is why if you're just eating plant protein, you could be really missing out on that. So make sure to just analyze what protein options you're eating if you're not eating animals, and just see, okay, am I actually getting in all the amino acids that I need to grow my muscle, fuel my body, fuel my training demands, and live a healthy, fit life. Okay, great. Well, ladies, have a great day. Please let me know any questions you have, and I'll talk to you later. I hope this settles in, and we don't need to be afraid of carbs. They're vital for life, for muscle, for energy. Good question, Stasia. How do you figure out macros, specifically carbs, if you are pre-diabetic? I can't say this generally because everything is so person specific. I don't just want to shoot out a number. What I would probably do is I would start you on the high end of protein. I would probably start you on the moderate end of fat, and then really focus on quality of carbohydrate, and then see how you feel, see how your body responds. Focus hard on quality of carbohydrate. Eat protein with your carbohydrates, things like that. And just be really conscious of how do you feel, how's your body responding, and then it's just going to be minor adjustments from there. A lot of things with macros, ladies, if you're doing it yourself, it may be trial and error, but there's another side to it. It's not trial and error. It's like, okay, here's what's right. How does your body respond? And then it's fine tuning, right? Because every woman's body needs something different in different seasons of life too, which is really interesting. So it's just fine tuning, but stick with one thing, get consistent, focus on high food quality, see how you feel, see how your body responds, then decide, okay, do I need a change, or are things going in the right direction? Do things feel good? That type of thing. Cool. I hope that helps. Okay, great. Quality over everything. I'll say that again. Okay, ladies, have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your week. And I know one of our trainers is coming on tomorrow to share some stuff as well. So we'll see you there.